Cool. Kia ora, everybody. We'll just wait on a few people. We've got lots of people coming through now, so we'll give it a second. But welcome. Feel free. You can see on the screen right now that we have a link so you can access the slides. Please feel free to access those slides now while we're waiting if you want to have a look through. Otherwise, we will get started in a couple of minutes. Yeah, just making sure my microphone is on.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll kind of get a little bit started as people come in. Kia ora. My name's Jessie. I'm not Donald, of who you may have expected running this. I'm kind of Donald's, the yin to his yang around here at Te Papa. We're kind of very similar. We have very similar roles. Donald couldn't be here this week, so I'm here to be a part of our first app smashing seminar. That also means that I am trying something a little different. I'm trying to run the webinar mostly by myself. So please bear with. I do have a lovely colleague of mine, Leroy, who is helping me out a little bit if I get stuck. But yep, so he will be in the chat if you need anything. I will be in the chat as well. That's what this second computer is for. I can also post a link to the chat, to the slides in the chat. So if you have a look now, you should see a link to the slides so that you can have access. Like I said, please post any questions or comments to the chat. Right, let's get started. So let's start with Karakia. Karakia timatanga. Tēnei te Māori ka piki ake ki te rangi e tū nei, he rangi atua, he rangi tipuna, he rangi tāwhito, kia whiti ko te mātauranga, kia tau ko te maramatanga, whaia ki tata, puritia kia
Could everybody mute themselves,
Sorry,
please?
I can do that.
Karen Hinge, very loud.
There we are. That should have worked. Let me know if it hasn't. Like I said, I think I can follow along with the chat and do this at the same time. Okay, so who am I? Ko wai mātou. So like I said before, I'm not Donald. Donald will be back next week, and he's the one who will usually be running most of these webinars. I'm usually the person on the side, making sure everyone's muted, letting people in, sorting out the chat. And he's the one who's kind of the mastermind behind this whole thing. But because he's unable to be here today, you get me. So a little bit of background, I am originally from Ahuriri and moved to Wellington a few years ago to study. I was a teacher for 5 years before I became part of the Te Papa team, and my role here is technically learning innovation specialist, but I see we do a lot of using digital technologies and 21st century learning with our taonga, and kind of merging those together and getting some really cool, awesome education plans and ideas for our students. Also, one of my big roles is PLD and passing on that knowledge to teachers, because when I came to Te Papa, one of the big things I wanted to do in this role was to have the time to explore some of these tools and pass them on to teachers, because teachers don't get a lot of time to explore these. That was something that I found as a teacher. So I was really excited to be able to come here, go through everything, and then pass that knowledge on. I have a lot of interest in digital learning, a lot of interest in design thinking, and a lot of problem-based learning. That's kind of where I sit. Great. Let's move on. Oh, I'll post again a link to the slides for those of you that may want it, or any brand new people we have. That's in the chat now. Okay, so app smashing, what is it? I know it's something that we hear every so often, but what it basically is using different apps together. It's taking things from one app, things from this app, things from this app, and blending them together to get the outcome that we want. So it's looking at all these different apps, all these different programs that we have, and looking at what are the parts we want and what are the parts we don't want. I think often we look towards an app or a program to be the one size fits all category when that's not possible. That's not a thing. And then it can frustrate us because we're like, well, it does 90% of what I want, but I also need that other 20, it does 80% of what we want, but I also need that other 20% of what it doesn't do. So because of just that 20%, it doesn't fit my needs. So app smashing is about looking at that and going, okay, so I can use that 80%, but what's another app that I can use with this one to give me that 20% to make it what I want? Why does it matter? Because we want our apps and we want our digital technologies to work for us, not the other way around. When we're using them in the classroom, we need them to be tools to our learning. They're not guiding our learning. We're the teacher. We're guiding the learning. So they need to do what we want them to do. And there's never going to be, well, there's very rarely an app that does everything that we need. Very, very rarely. And also because it really lends its way to an integrated curriculum. You know, we don't just want our students on, these are the maths apps, these are the literacy apps, these are these apps and these apps. We want them to be able to go, okay, I can take these things from this app, which we've been using in maths, and I can also use it in literacy, but I can also use it here, and I can also use it here. And we want these apps to be integrated throughout the curriculum and use them multiple different ways. It's not this one tool for this job, it's that one tool can fit many, many different jobs. So it really is about taking what's good of an app and taking what's good of another app and smashing them together. That's what app smashing is. So this is a really cool way of explaining it, because we do a very similar thing when we are creating something in real life. And just not with apps, with actual things. So for example, here, we came up with this idea, this diagram of how we do that same concept. So when we design something, so in this case, a paper mache dinosaur. So when we design that, starting with the design, it's done with a pencil, or it looks like in this case, a pen, maybe it was a blue pencil, and a piece of paper, and we will draw out what we want it to look like. And so the tools we're using there, pen, pencil, paper, art book, whatever. Those are the tools for that part. The next part, when we're creating, we use paper mache to create it. So it's a different tool. It might be the same paper we use to design, it might be completely different, but there's a different tool, and the paper mache is what is doing it. Then when it comes to presenting it, we're finishing it off with other different tools like paint. Maybe we've got some other different molding tools to create different parts of it. There's a base on it as well, which is probably made out of wood or something like that, ways that we want to present it. And then the last one we've got is share. So you can see from that share that it's actually, this dragon was made because it came from a blog. It was about talking about a blog. So it's okay to share it with someone in real life, but if the purpose of is to share it with a blog, it needed to be digitally shared. So we needed to take a photo of it. We needed to have a website in which we were hosting it on. So these 4 different stages all use 4 completely different tools. And by us deciding, oh, I can't use pen and paper for the entire thing, or us just trying to restrict ourselves to pen and paper for the entire thing, we're not going to get the job done that we wanted to get done. But we found different tools for different parts of the process. So that way we can really get the most out of the experience and the most out of the learning that we need. Cool. So some potentials of app smashing. Oh, and one thing as well, and I've kind of touched on this, I've got my notes here, is just that, like I said before previously, no single tool can do everything we need. And Donald's left me a note that says, don't believe the lies. I think a lot of times as teachers, we can go looking for that one size fits all solution, but sometimes that one size fits all solution actually ends up being quite finicky and quite difficult for us to use. And if one thing goes wrong, we think, oh, the whole thing is not working anymore. Whereas by smashing these apps together, we can take the parts that we know and put them together. We become in control of it. It's not the app in control. We're in control. So I put some potentials of app smashing here. So what happens when you attempt the same process with different tools? This is a really cool learning opportunity for our students to see that there's not just one way to do a certain process. This app, this program that we've given you, this is not the be all and end all of this process. If we take designing, for example, like we saw on the previous slide, you might have some students that would like to do it with a pen and paper. You might have some students that would prefer to draw it on paint on their computer, or actually do a little physical mock-up using paper or whatever it is. It's understanding that the same process can be replicated with different types of tools and putting the focus on the process, not on the tools. Can simpler tools produce more creative outcomes? So this is a really good thing to be thinking about when it comes to app smashing as well, because what might look like it produces the best outcome, if it's so difficult to use, is that really the right outcome? This gives us the opportunity to explore different apps, how easy they are, how they might work with our learners, how different our learners are, which ones work with which, and using a lot of apps that we like to call, and a lot of people like to call, sandbox apps. So apps that don't have a start and an end, or programs that don't have a start and an end. It's just, this is what the program does. And that can be a little intimidating for some people, because they go, well, how do I do it? That's up to you. So those types of apps that are actually quite simple are usually the ones that have a lot more outcomes, because when we put them in combination with other ones, we can get something that's really unique, we can get something that's really different, and we can get something that's really tailored to our learner. And then the last one, when does using multiple tools create outcomes that couldn't be achieved with a single tool? So you can see here, by taking a 2D rectangle and a 2D circle, we can make a 3D cylinder. And that kind of gives the idea of this multiple tools and using them in our favor to create what we want to create. Because sometimes one will just do one will just do the other, but we want to take our learning further so we can combine them. Cool. Oh, this one. Great. So connections to the curriculum. So what has this got to do with us? How do we get this into our curriculum? What does it mean? So app smashing supports an integrated curriculum approach. Like I said earlier, it's that whole idea of having more than one way to achieve an outcome. It's about having showing that one app can work for multiple different subjects. Just the same as you can use a pen for a lot of things, we can use this app for a lot of things. This app isn't just for creating a random movie. This app can actually help us explain something in more detail. This app can help us do this in literacy. It can help us show this process when we're doing science, all these different things. Digital technology is hard when it sits outside other subjects, which I think is something that we can all relate to. A lot of us still think that teaching digital technology is something I have to do extra, above and beyond. And when our apps aren't working for us the way we want them to, that's what it starts to become. But when we get to know these apps more and we make them work for us, that's when it starts to become integrated inside that curriculum. It starts to become a part of literacy or a part of maths, because it's not dictating the way we're going. It's just a tool. And context is everything. Like we said, again, those sandbox ideas and those simpler ideas, they should be going with what our students are already learning. They should be wrapping around it and creating different solutions, creating different outcomes. Rather that with the context that we're already learning, rather than standing alone, standing aside. Digital tool does nothing without a purpose. We said that. Collaborative processes support learners at various levels. So many of these apps and so many of this app smashing, when you're creating a product, creating an outcome, it's not something that you really do by yourself or alone with a student. You know, it's so much better for them to be able to work collaboratively. And because of the way it works, it supports them at different levels. So if we've got multiple different tools that are still doing the same process, it means that students can take the tool that works best for them. So whatever level they're at, they can be like, okay, I'm able to best show this process using this tool. And he's able to do this tool, and he's able to do this tool, and she's able to do this tool. So we've got multiple tools, meaning if we have the one app, it might not work for all our students. Water. So, like I said, this is a series. This is a series of webinars. We're going to have half an hour every Wednesday at this time with myself and with Donald, where we're going to be looking at different apps that we can smash together. And every week, you're going to be issued with a Wero, with a challenge. And it is completely up to you how you want to go about this challenge. But one thing I do want to say is that every week we will make it very known what the 2 apps are that we're going to be, or more. I think it's only, there might be more. I'll keep it secret. But you will know the apps that we're going to be working with. And it's going to be up to you to make sure that you at least come with some knowledge of how both of those apps work. And that's what we've put here. So some of those apps will be ClapMotion, OBS, PixelRx, Scratch, Tinkercad, SculptGL, Sketchfab. I'm going to put the link again here, because the links next to each of them will take you to that program, to that app, to that program, so that you can have a chance, even if it's like we just said, at a bare minimum, doing a Google search or checking out some of the short intro videos that we've made or that other people have made on YouTube. It's important that you come with some understanding of what the purpose of that app is, because without this understanding, it could get really difficult to be like, oh, if you don't understand how the app works, you won't understand how it will work with other apps. I think that kind of makes sense. Yeah, so, but feel free also to completely dive into them, really get into it, pull them apart yourself, with a colleague, with your class. And if you do find some really cool things, you can post them to our Te Papa Learning Facebook page so we can share in it. Donald's put down the bottom, breaking things and discovering new possibilities is the aim. So that's a really big thing with app smashing, is going, can I do that? And trying it. And if it fails, then you can't. But if you can, then you've opened up that whole new realm of possibilities. There's all these new ideas, all these new things that you can do. So please feel free to just have a tattoo with them, play along, see what happens. So your Wero for next week. wrong computer, this computer, is to explore combining stop motion animation with OBS. Now we've put clap motion there, but it doesn't have to be the app clap motion. It can be whatever stop motion animation app you use. We just use clap motion. Can this all be done on a laptop or does it need to be an iPad? Nope, pretty sure. Let me just double check. Yeah, I think they can all be done on a laptop. I don't know whether they can all be done on an iPad, but they can definitely all be done on a laptop. OBS, I know, is not a, am I going to give to it? Don't tell Donald. OBS is not a web-based, it's something that you have to download. So it will probably be best done on your teaching laptop rather than a Chromebook. But if you're unable to do that, you can still look at videos, you can still look at the website, you can still understand how it works for the future. It's not an issue. But I was told specifically, I'm not allowed to tell you guys what these apps are. You have to explore them yourself. But yes, so I know a lot of people use iPad for stop motion animation. I know some people use Chromebooks and stuff. Whatever app you use for stop motion animation, look at combining that with OBS. That's your Wero. Great. So now it's time. Great timing. So now it's time for you to have your Tutū, to go away and do that. Think about something you learned, something you enjoyed. Also, this webinar, is there something we could do better? Also, it gives you an opportunity to have a play and post a screenshot or a link of your creation if you come up with something cool. Are there any questions? If you could put them in chat. I think I've muted you and you can't unmute yourself. So if you could type any questions that you have into chat for me, that would be great. And while you are doing that, I have, sorry? Oh, they can unmute. It's probably better if you type it in chat anyway, because I don't know what volume that computer's set at. Yeah, so if you could just type it, that would be really, really great. If you have an opportunity to give us some feedback on our websites, if you don't want to do it right now, there is a feedback form. We would ask pretty please if you have a moment to fill it out, because this will help us in future webinars. We always like to know what we could do better, how we could make things different, how we can make things easier for you as teachers. A lot of the decisions that we make, like posting the link to the slides and having our sessions only half an hour at a maximum, have all come directly from feedback from you guys. So it's really, really important to us that these work for you, and that we can work for you guys. So whatever feedback you have will be really good. Good session, clear and straight to the point. That's what we're hoping with this half-hour thing, is that we're just clear, direct, no mucking around. You get the information you need and you can take away the information to digest at your own pace with your own staff members, etc. Great. Well, if you do have any more questions that you can't think of right now, but maybe when you do go and digest this with somebody else, you do come up with a question, my email is in these slides. Please feel free to email me at any point. Also, my email was the one that sent you the link to Zoom, so you can just reply to that, no problem. Otherwise, let's end. Oh, sorry. An upcoming webinar that we have tomorrow, we are doing a webinar for a different series, not our App Smashing series. It's another series run by Mātou, which is our museum educators sector. They are doing one on collaborating online. So if you would like to be a part of that, the link is here. That is on Google Meets, not on Zoom. Yeah, that's just looking through. Monica's going to be showing some really helpful digital tools and how you can utilize them to collaborate online. So if you'd like to be a part of that, feel free. Otherwise, let's end with a karakia. Karakia whakamutunga. Tēnei te Māori, ka hiki I ko ki te whenua I takoto nei, he rangi atua, he rangi tipua, he rangi tāwhito. E whiti ko te mātauranga, I tau ko te maramatanga. Tēnei ka hikitia kia waitia, haumie, huie, tai ki e. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Matua.